I think, Andrew, I accept, right, that we've made a huge bit of sacrifice since the beginning of this pandemic last February, March, and we've come a long way, but people are exhausted, people are tired, and it's taken a toll on mental health, and particularly among the young. Of course, COVID-19 has shown generation differences also. Young people have lost their jobs, and they've suffered mentally. The elderly are the ones who paid with their lives, but they haven't had that much impact on them psychologically. So
I don't know about that, actually. I'm not convinced about that.
Well, I'm going to talk about broad figures, right? Okay, they are probably don't go clubbing, don't go to.
No, but they're dying alone in care homes, having been put in those care homes by the NHS, who didn't give them a COVID test before they left.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think we should have a post-mortem on this. We should have everything. But at the moment, I'm answering the question. I do think people are exhausted, but listen to tell them this is reality. And the only instrument we've got at the moment is social distancing, keeping ourselves with a mask whenever we're outside, washing our hands, keeping to be a distance, and those are the only tools. And even when we get vaccinated, we cannot let our guard down.
No, quite right. Dr. Omkar Sahota, thank you very much. Indeed, we can't let our guard down now. We have really just the last couple of miles of a marathon to run. How are you holding up is a reasonable question. 0345 606 0973. Does this feel like an emergency to you yet? Are you complying with regulations? All that and Trump. Why on earth would you ban him now? I mean, I'll read you the tweets. They banned him, Trump, of Twitter. I can't understand why they've done it now, particularly. Is it because they've sucked him dry of the commercial success that he's brought to Twitter? Do you consider it to be an erosion of free speech, or is it time he was thrown off and cancelled? Do you always cancel everybody that you disagree with? We'll deal with it in a second. And after the news from Dominic Ellis.
Boris Johnson has insisted compliance with England's new coronavirus lockdown is now more vital than ever following surging infection levels. The government is stepping up its advice to stay at home and to act like people have got coronavirus as it launches a new advertising campaign. And Twitter has banned Donald Trump's personal account permanently, warning that the way some people are interpreting his tweets risks further incitement of violence. On the weather, much of England and Wales will be dry but cold, with low cloud and fog slow to lift in places. Some patchy rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland, a high of 6 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Katie Tyler in Wood Green. Westbury Avenue is closed in both directions near Boreham Road because of an accident. Lambeth Bridge stays shut southbound for emergency repairs, and in Bromley by Bow, St Leonard's Street is blocked in both directions near the A12. That's because of a burst water main. On the tubes, the Circle line has no service, and there's no service on the District line between Kensington and Barking, or between Earls Court and Kensington Olympia. The Metropolitan line has no service between Baker Street and Aldgate, and on the trains, no overground between Gospel Oak and Upper Holloway.
This is LBC.
The self-assessment deadline is January 31st. Don't leave it too late. If you're worried about paying, support may be available to help you out. For more information, go to gov.uk/self-assessment. Remember, the self-assessment deadline is January 31st. Start yours today.
What am I looking forward to most? Hugs. Definitely lots of hugs. I miss that.
A day out that doesn't involve walking in mud.
Actually, I'm okay with the no hugging.
At Trusted PPE, we're looking forward to getting back to normal as much as you are. So let's all pull together and do our bit to help stop the spread once and for all. In the meantime, look after each other and stay safe with trustedppe.co.uk. Rated excellent on Trustpilot.
Whether you're starting your business,
Or starting to get noticed.
spotting typos,
Or spotting trends.
making a difference,
Or making a deadline.
moving on up,
Or moving online.
sealing a deal,
Or sealing a leak.
reading the room.
Or your first 5-star review.
At Superscript, we know that business never stops.
So go all in with Superscript and leave the details to us.
Monthly business insurance, shaped
differential technology. We're facing the biggest health challenge of our generation, and we've shown that together we're stronger than ever. But to keep making a difference, we need to support each other. If you're a man and you've had coronavirus recently, then you might just have the antibodies to help save lives in your blood plasma. That's why we need men to donate. Giving blood plasma is safe and easy. Be the difference. Search Donate Plasma or call 0300 123 2323 today.
Andrew Castle on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, I tell you what, they banned him off Twitter, Donald Trump, after this extremely busy week. What was the chances of Donald Trump leaving, going to the inauguration, shaking hands, and then quietly, heading off, lick his wounds, and get ready for 4 years' time? That's all absolutely gone with the events of this week. He said he wasn't going to go to the inauguration. Fine. Now Twitter have banned him, but the two tweets that he put out, and the reason given for taking him off Twitter, I mean, they're calling it a suspension. It's actually a ban. Well, it seems a little bit weak in terms of justification to me. However, hasn't he done enough to take him off Twitter? But are we going to cancel everybody that we don't like and whose views we completely disagree with? I mean, there's a lot of hate on Twitter. For some reason, that medium above all others. And where else would he go? He'll find a voice somewhere. This is President-elect Joe Biden speaking yesterday from Delaware. He said he agreed with Mr. Trump's decision not to attend the inauguration.
He's one of the most incompetent presidents in the history of the United States of America. And so the idea that I think he shouldn't be out of office yesterday is not the issue. The question is, what happens with 14 days left to go or 13 days left to go? And I think that what 81 million people stood up and said, it's time for him to go. And the United States Senate voted 93-6 to confirm that we should be sworn in. We were duly elected. So I think it's important we get on with the business, getting him out of office. The quickest way that will happen is us being sworn in on the 20th. What action happens before or after that is a judgment for the Congress to make, but that's what I am looking forward to. Him leaving office. I was told that on the way up here, on the way over here, that he indicated he wasn't going to show up at the inauguration. One of the few things he and I have ever agreed on. It's a good thing I'm not showing up.
Look, we're going to get stuck into Mr. Trump at 9 o'clock very strongly. The free speech